Hello everyone, today I'm gonna take a shot at reviewing Cyberpunk 2077, possibly the most hyped game in existence. So let's start with that. The hype for this game was so unimaginably astronomical that no matter what CD Projekt Red produced, it was gonna be a disappointment. Had the cure for cancer been developed, they would have to push back the announcement date as to not clash with Cyberpunk's release. People have been so obsessed with this game, they thought it would cure their depression, get them back together with their ex, put $80,000 in the bank account, grow their dick by 10 centimeters, and suppress the soul-crushing feeling that they're a disappointment to their parents. Why did this happen? Sadly enough, part of why people were so disappointed was the fact that CDPR produced an amazing, $80 million low-budget indie game called The Witcher 3. There's a slim fucking chance you may have heard of it. So the bar was set pretty high to begin with. It would have been the equivalent of Blizzard releasing a shitty game cinematic. Now, for the ADD people out there, and for those who just want their opinion validated, I'll put my opinion forward. I think Cyberpunk is a great game. It's not a perfect game, it's not the second coming of Christ, but it is a spectacular game. Now, for the sake of argument, I've sunk about 40 hours into the game. And I've only partially completed the main storyline, so this review won't contain any spoilers. Also, I'll mainly be talking about the PC version. But since dessert comes after the vegetables, let's start with the bad, since it has some flaws that are as gaping as my asshole after a 5-hour Dota session playing Invoker mid. So the thing that blows absolute ass is the driving, which isn't unexpected when the fastest thing the studio ever had to deal with was a horse that climbs fucking sheds. The main thing that kills driving for me is the handling. If you so much as sneeze on the steering wheel, you'll send your car flying into a wall faster than a Foxconn employee getting catapulted back to work by a suicide net. There is no physical way to make a 90-degree turn in this game if you're going any faster than a rusty wheelchair. If they were going for realism, they fucked up hard. It gets even worse when you're riding a motorcycle. The minimap doesn't zoom out when you're going fast like it does in GTA 5, so you constantly have to dart your eyes between the road and the minimap so you don't miss your turn. And I always end up crashing because I refuse to drive like a 90-year-old grandma with Parkinson's. The walking movement is atrocious when it comes to small maneuvers. Although it works great in general when moving on flat surfaces, I could make an hour-long video of me getting flung off a building just because the game engine shits his bed every time I try to walk over a pipe. They basically took whatever movement template they had for Geralt, slapped a camera onto its face, tweaked the variables, called it a day, and went back to smoking meth. The driving AI for the NPCs feel like it was made in 2077 BC on an analog computer. If you block the road, they just wait. They don't overturn. Either the AI is absolute dog shit or the game is set in Canada. There is no scientific explanation for such patient behavior in a dystopian future. NPCs regularly crash into traffic barriers, which I get it's not an AI issue, it's a waypoint issue. Which means either the QA team smoked too much crack, or the gameplay programmer was too busy getting double-fisted by the producer to give a shit about this. Either way, it's too easy of a thing to fix to be in the final release, especially very close to the beginning of the game. Now, in terms of raw FPS, the game doesn't suck horse dick, more like donkey dick. It's neither here nor there. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things can be optimized to make it run better, and I'm sure they're working on more updates to fix it, but for what it is, it really does run okay. I mean, I have a 1070, which is getting close to being 5 years old. I have most of my settings on medium or high, maybe one or two things on low, and my average FPS is 40 to 60. It does dip below that in some areas, but it's not that alarming. There are some other issues with characters spawning in front of your face, LODs loading too slowly, or characters just despawning when you turn away from them, which gives you a feeling of living in AliExpress version of the Matrix. But all in all, I mean, it needs a lot of fixing, and I'm sure it's on its way. So I'm not worrying too much about that. The game is also littered with the random bugs, some which are excusable and could easily be fixed, and some are just so obvious. I'm getting convinced they were on drugs when they tested this game. Guys, Witcher was a financial success. You can afford better drugs. Like, some bugs are, harmless. Losing the ability to jump in certain areas, physics spazzing out like the epileptic dumbasses that bought a game called Cyberpunk and thought to themselves, yep, this is a game for me. Surely there won't be any bright neon flashing colors here. But hey, a small lesson in natural selection right there. If you have a peanut allergy, maybe don't go around licking every jar, dick, and doorknob you run across. Do some research, rub a couple of brain cells together, before making a potentially life-ending decision. But there are some serious dumbfuck bugs that are absolutely inexcusable to be in the game, like NPCs not holding an item they're supposedly handing you in a key story cinematic. NPCs just not fucking spawning, forcing you to reload, only to remember that you last saved a fucking hour ago. Being able to start 2 phone calls at once, dialogue overlapping from 2 different conversations. Now, yours truly is a programmer himself, so I know how these bugs are made. And I promise you that these bugs are very avoidable, regardless of the soul-crushing crunch time that CDPR employees had to endure, to get this thing out the door. Still, for anyone thinking that the game is too buggy, try suppressing your rose-tinted hindsight, much like your gag reflex every time your uncle used to visit, and watch a few videos about the bugs in the glorious Witcher 3. Yeah, while Witcher 3 is an amazing game in its own right, it was a buggy dumpster fire on release. So, give the devs some time. Now that I've poked the game's ballsack with a rusty fork for a few minutes, it's time to give it the praise it actually deserves. Because, as I've said, the game is spectacular despite its flaws. So let's start with the visuals and the general atmosphere. The game looks fucking fantastic. I honestly don't know what the fuck people are complaining about. The scenery is well crafted. The tall mega buildings give it a Judge Dredd kind of feel, if the Dredd universe had a working sanitary system with a sprinkle of Mirror's Edge. They did a great job with the lighting. So many of the story scenes are made to look amazing by the lighting alone. Sneaking around the back alley basement surgery joints, you really get the feeling that dark shit is going on there. YouTube's compression algorithm doesn't do it justice, trust me. The rooms are carefully crafted to match the setting it's supposed to convey. It's not just a mishmash of props and doodads scattered around for shits and giggles, as you see in almost all open world games. The close-up facial animations are well done and highly detailed. The motion capture is realistic. Even Jackie picking up the heavy suitcase is made to look pretty damn good, which a ton of AAA games fuck up in terms of animation. Obviously, if that case was carrying my depression, Jackie's skeleton will collapse into dust, forming a black hole destroying Night City, but I digress. Since I play a sneaky stealth archer in pretty much every game, it didn't take a fucking wizard to figure out how I was gonna play Cyberpunk. And I have to say, my wishes for playing a Deus Ex on steroids were thoroughly satisfied. If you're a fan of the Dishonored series, even better, you can go for a more difficult non-lethal approach, which is pretty fun since you have to strategize and rely on hacking a lot more. Or, if you just want to pop heads, slap an exhaust muffler on a gun and you're set. Just because the hacking aspect of the game gets a little overshadowed by the head-popping pew-pew cannon in some situations, doesn't mean you have to choose that type of playstyle. Pick whatever floats your boat. I don't give 2 shits about the rifles in the game, and it's just not my style. And in the 40 hours I've played so far, I haven't used a single one. The only time I've tossed a grenade is when my ADHD dumbass can't help but click the middle mouse button. Now, some people think all of this is bad design, but I seriously don't agree. The game gives you choices to play however you want. Want to be a sneaky bitch stabbing people in the dark? Done. Want to be a guns blazing Robocop and, shred people with bullets? Done. Want to be a 90s hacker and steal money from terminals? Fucking done. The point is, it gives you options. There are multiple ways you can customize V to suit your playstyle. Although, some perks are generic percentage increases and some are gameplay altering, and you can mix and match however you want to play. The Deus Ex level design shines in some instances, like when you're trying to gain access to a building where some doors can only be opened by brute force or with technical ability. So the game forces you to play around those obstacles based on what kind of build you chose. The hacking is also pretty fun if paired up with a stealthy approach, because you can disable people's vision, short-circuit their wiring, or disable their movement and whatnot. There are a bunch of other tricks that I'm not gonna spoil for you here. Also, another thing that doesn't seem to get mentioned as far as I've seen in the Steam reviews is the music. It's so damn good. Come on. I mean, sure, it can hold a candle to something like Guilty Gear, but there's not a single boring station in the game. Also, another really creative thing they've done is add radios to a bunch of locations where you're likely to encounter enemies. It's a nice and organic way of adding a soundtrack to an action scene without actually breaking the immersion. As for the story and writing, I haven't finished the game, but the parts that I did play through were pretty fucking well done. I mean, the characters are realistic and well written. The voice acting is top notch, although, a cliche happens here and there, it's fucking unavoidable. The characters are believable, and aren't just some background noise for like Vita Shine as the main character. Also, some of the extra main story dialogue is made available only if you progress through some of the side missions or have the right kind of stat. Also, unfortunately, I'd be dishonest if I said Keanu's voice acting was breathtaking. A lot of the times it just falls flat. But guys, voice acting is a lot different from regular acting. He did an okay job for most scenes. Some people complained that the backstory for V and Jackie's relationship was shallow, and listen, there are people out there that think Fight Club is a bad movie. I'm just saying, there are legit crayon eaters out there. Not all opinions are valid. The montage was well done and did a great job at representing the nature of their relationship. A kind of friends/partners in crime kind of deal. Like, people wanted this to be done through actual gameplay. Dude, if they went that route, that could be a game by itself. Look, I'm not saying I would mind if they done it that way, but people simply aren't realistic with their expectations of the scope of the game. Like, for instance, Victor, the Ripper Doc, he really sells the character with an old-school doctor who knows his way around cyber implants, but also cares for V as a friend, despite the game not explicitly showing you a long backstory of how they, became friends. Jackie is portrayed well as a, small-time criminal, but a stand-up guy with a mom and a girlfriend that care for him. All in all, the game gets you to care, actually care about the characters, and you're invested in their story. And I don't think I can ask for more, not only from a game, but from any story in general. There are loads of other details that simply make it a genuinely fantastic game, easily worth your time, like the shit ton of side jobs and random encounters in the game, one of which involves an actual faulty dick implant, or a father-son team making virtual snuff porn. But, I'll let you discover those on your own. Some people have complained the game doesn't have a good cover system. Listen, those people are fucking government issue glue sniffers and has a basic cover system with leaning and peeking almost identical to the one in Dishonored. And what the fuck more do you need in a game like this? Seriously. Like, also, the people that cried about no LGBT representation in the game, it has plenty of it all through character customization, billboards, TV ads, and, a couple of characters. All in all, don't listen to the haters and the professional internet fucking crybabies. The game is amazing. Yeah, it has its flaws and bugs, but they will mostly be fixed in the weeks or months to come. Like, if you still don't trust me, wait until January, when they come out with a bigger patch that'll, probably fix a lot of these issues. If you'd like me to cover any other topic regarding Cyberpunk, or hell, any other game for that matter, or if you disagree with me and think I'm a fucking CDPR fanboy shill, please leave a comment. I'd very much appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you for watching, and that's about it.